Hey, it's Matt here. I spent the last couple days writing up this super long rant on what developer marketing is, and I wanted to take some time to share it with y'all. So today we're going to talk about what developer marketing is. I'm going to break it down in the way that I think about it, and I think you'll find it interesting because it follows largely from how I see product. It's kind of interwoven with developer tools, developer marketing, and ultimately what it means to build something that people care about. So these are thoughts that I've had for a while. I'm really excited to jump into them, but what is developer marketing? I might look at my laptop here every now and then because all of my notes are on my laptop and this is kind of lengthy. But developer marketing is just marketing, right, for developers. So it makes sense to first define what marketing is before we jump into developer marketing. And I think even taking a step back, it makes more sense to define what product is before we talk about marketing, because marketing follows largely from product. It's really hard to market something that's just terrible, right? And I see product as being composed of primarily two things. And that's one, being extremely opinionated about exactly what you're building. So having an idea, having a hypothesis about what the market needs, and being super opinionated about exactly what you're building. Two, being super opinionated about exactly who you're building that thing for. Right? And so if you know what you're building and you know exactly who you're building it for, if you do that long enough, you're going to have something pretty amazing that solves somebody's need. And at the end of the day, product is about addressing those needs. Now, I would say marketing is comprised of three things. If product is two things, marketing is three things. It's being opinionated about what you're building. It's being opinionated about exactly who you're building it for. And third, it's being extremely opinionated about how you communicate exactly what you're building. And marketing really is the communication piece on top of product, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to communicate something for someone and you find that it's lacking, there's actually a cycle there where marketing feeds back into product, right? If I'm trying to sell cars to outdoorsy people, but the model I'm selling doesn't have four-wheel drive, I really need to evaluate the product that I'm selling. And maybe that means going back to my marketing team and saying, hey guys, look, we call ourselves this car company. We're really serious about building cars for outdoor people, and we don't have four-wheel drive. Like, we need to reevaluate the product decision. And that's how I see marketing feeding back into product. And so the follow-up from that is, okay, well, if marketing is being opinionated about how we communicate, how do we communicate simply, directly, and emotionally with our viewers? That is, how do we get our viewers to evoke an emotional response to the messages that we're trying to portray? The way I like to talk about this is like, look, I'm on social media too much. I'm a terminally online guy or whatever. Every now and then I'll be scrolling on like a feed. Okay, so let's say X. I'm scrolling on X and I see something and I'm like, holy cow, I need to know more about this thing. Like this problem encapsulates exactly what I'm feeling. Or I see something and I get mad. I'm like, what the heck, right? Like, why is this thing happening? Or I'm worried that I'm missing out or I'm falling behind and I need this thing to address those problems. These messages are evoking emotional responses from me that make me take action on that product. And that's what marketing is. But the caveat there is you can't write a paragraph, you can't write a research paper and get an emotional response from someone, especially not today, right? I find this challenge with making video, right? Like, I can't make a 30-minute long video that appeals to as many people as possible. I hope one day I can. There are great content creators that do. And this video is aimed at being more long form. But at the end of the day, if you want something that grabs people's attention, it has to be simple and direct. So emotionally evocative, simplicity, directness, these are all characteristics of really great marketing messages. And this is hard, right? This is hard for people like me who are nerds. I will talk till the cows come home, just like I'm talking to you, about virtually anything, about products, about really interesting technologies, about things that I just find really cool. But not everyone's that way. And actually, most people aren't that way. So in order to be an effective marketer, we have to take all of that energy, all of that passion, and bottle it up and distill it down into the things that are important and the things that are simple. And I mean, I see this in my own life, right? I don't have time to dive deep on everything I want to. But if you can communicate something in a sentence or 2 sentences and it takes 20 seconds of my time, well, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's absolutely valuable. And you're providing a huge service by doing that. And it's very powerful. Well, now I've talked about the characteristics of an effective marketing message, but like, what does that look like in practice, right? How do we make something emotionally evocative and simple and direct? I think this is best done by thinking about the outcomes of what we're building, right? So, again, I talked about social media. What makes you look at a tweet? What makes you look at a reel or a TikTok and say, like, I need to do this thing? I think at the end of the day, it's the outcome represented by the thing that's in that post. And this is really easy. I think I work at Replit. It's a company we help people build great apps. So you want to talk about a marketing one-liner, right? I'm focusing on what people can do with the product. We enable anyone to ship anything they want. Hey, you've always thought, why doesn't this app exist? Well, now today you can do something about it, right? And that's something that resonates with many more people than me going, hey, look, dude, we got to have these really cool containers and like the infrastructure is sick and your development environment loads instantly. You can do anything. You can install databases. You can, it's like the most flexible environment without having to install anything. You can do it all on a single browser tab. And those are good messages, but they miss the point. And they're too nerdy and they're too complicated. And people's eyes glaze over the same way that my parents' eyes glaze over when I try to tell them about what I do for work, right? So if you want to speak to people, hey, look, you've always had this idea. You can build that thing and deploy it today in 15 minutes, actually. Okay, well, now you're interested. Now you're wondering, well, how can I do that? Because I've never seen anything like that before. Well, now I have the attention to be able to explain those things if you're so interested. So it starts by offering a direct solution, by focusing on an outcome and speaking to the problems that I think you're experiencing or that I know you're experiencing. Because the job of a marketer, much like the job of an excellent product person, is to understand the people that they're selling to, understand the people that they're building for. And, selling is a touchy subject, especially with developers. They don't like anything that has to do with sales. But what I would say is that I like to think about marketing. Well, I work in DevRel, so I'm biased, but I like to think about these things as educational. And if you can have an unbiased approach, right? The fact of the matter is the product you're selling is not for everyone. If you invent a product that's for everyone, like you invent like ice cream, you don't need to be watching Matt's YouTube tutorials on how to market to developers. You're going to be just fine. But I'm laughing because I assume there are people actually watching this video. If you've made it this far, congratulations. But, right, I totally lost my train of thought. Your product is not for everyone. So if you can be honest to your viewers about whether or not something's for them, if you can honestly say to somebody, hey, look, we built this thing. I think it's really cool. It can do some really great stuff, but you're not actually our ICP, our target user, right? But maybe some of your friends are. There's an incredible amount of goodwill associated with that, and that's how you market effectively. That's how you build trust with people and how you build a brand. You don't build a brand by lying to people, and you don't become a great marketer by shoving things down people's throats when they don't want them. And I see that as a really core tenet about being a trustworthy person and being a trustworthy marketer. And so if you can have a direct solution to someone's problems, if you can communicate that or educate that person in an effective manner, you're going to be able to convey the things that you think are really cool about the product as effectively as possible. Now, there are ways to do this that are maybe slightly more emotional. I wouldn't call them nefarious, but there are all kinds of emotional biases and effects that people feel, right? Like I might feel that I'm falling behind if I'm not trying out the latest AI tools. Hey, here's a tool that lets me make video faster. And if the way that a marketer communicates that is, hey, look, man, everybody out there is going to be out shipping you if you don't use this tool. That's a really effective way to speak to me because I care about shipping. Now, right, it's very easy to go a little too far on these and kind of get into tacky marketing techniques. But these are effective methods of communicating with people. Now, a lot of dev tools companies, a lot of engineers at dev tool companies will give me the excuse of like, oh, I'm an engineer. How do I have empathy? Bullshit. As Arnold would say, bullshit. That was a terrible accent. I've been there. I used to be robot engineer, no personality guy. Hard to believe, right? I'm hilarious. But over the course of years, over the course of my entire life, I've looked at that part of me and actively tried to communicate with people and actively tried to understand where other people are coming from. And really, like, that's just a product of being open-minded and willing to experience new things and willing to be uncomfortable or go do things that, make you look like a freaking idiot. I do it all the time. I'm talking to the camera right now. Half of you are probably like, this guy's an idiot. But I'm doing it, right? And over the course of those experiences, you become better at understanding exactly who you're talking to. Now, if I were to do like a case study for Replit where I work, Replit is an online development platform, but really it's more than that. It's a tool that lets anyone go from the ideas that are in their head to an application in like 15 minutes or in an hour. You don't have to write any code. You can build something that works and solves your problem regardless of who you are. And that's why it's amazing. The who are these folks that maybe were a little technical, maybe know a little bit about coding, but are just really curious and really hungry to learn. Because those people are the most impacted by these new AI tools that are coming out. And so the what is that we take exactly what I just said. We take ideas and we put them into action. And all it really requires from you is a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of English. And with those two things, you can build anything that you want. And so the way to communicate that to our users is that we have to first understand exactly who our users are. Now, the messages I just related to are very broad and very vague. They apply to everyone, which is good. I think they're effective messages. But if I can understand the type of person that's building a Salesforce to HubSpot integration tool for their small business, right? And I can say, oh, that integration tool that you're about to pay a developer like 10 grand for and wait 3 months to have delivered, you could get an MVP of that out tomorrow, right? You could have something that works, maybe not production grade, but you could have something that works tomorrow. And then you could refine it a little bit or hire a developer that already has this preconceived notion of what you're trying to build and deliver results for your consultancy faster, take on more clients, stop turning down work, go home at 5 p.m. instead of 8 p.m., and make your life better. That is an effective marketing message because I not only understand the product, I not only understand exactly what the product can do, and that's the product side of it, right? But I also understand exactly who we're building for. And then I took that one step further and I understood how we can effectively communicate our product with the problems of the people that we're building for. And at the end of the day, that's marketing. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. The biggest point I want to make, though, in the Replit case is that no one gives a shit about development environments. They don't give a shit about Postgres databases, and they don't care about object storage. Again, if you're a nerd like me, you do, but in order to communicate the things that I want to, I have to lead with the outcome and the emotion. I can't lead with cloud services, unfortunately. I love cloud services. I used to be a data engineer. It's all really great. It's exciting. But it doesn't sell subscriptions. And so when I communicate about Replit, when I communicate about where I work, I start by trying to understand the things that people are communicating about, the things that people care about. And the way to do that, giant shocker, is by talking to people. And it's great. It's great because I'm a huge yapper and I can, put on a camera and put on a mic and talk here for 30 minutes about what I think marketing is and then post it on YouTube and be ridiculed by the online community. But I digress. So what do we know now, right? First, our content needs to speak to what people want and what draws their attention. And two, these things that we're building, they're actually really addictive. And at the end of the day, the message boils down to your life can be better with this thing. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to communicate. The great thing about developers is they don't take BS and they hate salesy language. I do too. So you have to prove that. You have to prove that to people. But the way that you prove it to people is by evoking emotional responses. Because if somebody says something that was on my mind, if somebody says, oh, hey, Matt, that problem you had with converting PowerPoint to Markdown file, I have this library, it does that. I'd be like, oh, there's no way you just read my mind, right? This thing must exist. That instantly builds credibility. So, right, what do we know? We know we need to be opinionated. We need to be opinionated about product. We know we need to have empathy. We need to have empathy with our users, the people who we're building for. And that we know we need to evoke emotion with these people, with these ICPs or users or whatever you want to call them. And that's often done by storytelling. And the stories I just shared with you or the thought process I just shared with you, I think is universal. I think it applies to a lot of things. But taking that one step further, the way we do that is with simplicity. Because, look, nobody has attention anymore, right? Attention is all you need, right? Or whatever. Nobody pays attention to anything on social media. You can't talk to anybody for longer than 2 minutes. Society is falling apart, blah, 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 boomer arguments, whatever. The way we communicate those things are by eliminating all complexity from the messages. Now, Matt, you might say, "Oh, Matt, man, what about nuance? What about academia and scholarship?" No, I don't care. That's for later, right? We back things up with logic. We back things up with the story and the why. But as for the message starts by eliminating complexity and delivering the essence, only the essence about what you care about, the most important things. And for a lot of people, that's hard. It's hard for me as someone who likes to be complete and have a high attention to quality and show people that I'm doing a lot of work. Hey, look, I'm doing work for the sake of work. It doesn't matter, right? And so starting from simplicity, sort of working backwards, it's actually more work to boil your message down. And if it means you have to write 2,000 words to start, that's fine. It just means you can't just put that in front of someone because they're not going to respond. I mean, in some sense, think about the person that sends you 20 texts at once versus the person that sends you one sentence, like every couple weeks. Like, you're probably going to pay attention to the one sentence, like a little bit more than you're going to pay attention to some barrage of text messages because they don't contain a lot of useful information. And so, establishing the expectation of simplicity is important. So I want to break that down. I just talked for quite a while. But marketing starts with product, right? And product starts with two principles, which is being opinionated about what you're building and being opinionated about who you're building for. Once you have those two things, once you have a sense of product, you can be opinionated about how you communicated that product with people. And that's marketing. And largely there is a virtuous cycle where if you can understand how to communicate with your users, you can understand how to build a better product. And so marketing does feed into product. Now, that's simple, what I just said, but it's not easy. It's actually really hard, and most people don't do it well. So communicate simply, communicate directly, and communicate emotionally. And to evoke an emotional response is to understand your users. And in order to do that, you need to have empathy for your users. You have to understand how they think and understand the problems that they have in their everyday life. A really easy way to do that is just to be the user of your own product. It's kind of why people who are out just for money or success or kind of whatever, it's a lot harder to succeed that way and a lot easier to succeed if you're actually just building something that enriches your own life and enriches the life of other people. So what actually works? Well, a great story works. Solutions to your users' problems work. Surprising outcomes work. Funny outcomes work. Fear of missing out works. Social proof works. So the formula then is to start from the user's perspective and to focus on outcomes rather than formulas or features. It's to keep things simple, and it's to lead with emotion and back things with logic. Finally, you want to be confidently opinionated about your product and build a sense of trust with your users. And so really my playbook here for successful marketing is to first know the ideal customer deeply. Second, to lead with an emotional hook or a very simple way of getting people's attention. Third, to support your case with evidence. And fourth, to write in short, simple sentences or speak slowly and in a way that everyone can understand. And five, you have to be confidently opinionated about your product, your audience, your message, and I guess yourself too. Right? And I didn't want to get too I didn't want to get into philosophy too much with y'all, but I suppose that's necessary. And I think a big part of this is saying no to distractions. I'm the type of person that likes to do a little bit of everything. I get really excited when I have the opportunity to try new things, or really optimistic about the things that could be, or the potential of certain things, or missing out on a really great opportunity. But sometimes you have to say no to the unimportant things, or no to the things that get in the way of your true mission. And really only you can know what that mission is. But yeah, I'm Matt. These have been my thoughts on developer marketing and how I try to get a little bit better every day at communicating and understanding our users and the community that I engage with. Follow along for more tips and tricks. Follow along for more explainer videos, more content like this. I'd like to do it more often. Until next time, peace.